Hey everyone, it's Jack here, TalkNorwichCity. Welcome back to another video. Now, when I say the name Borja Sainz, you probably think, oh my goodness, what's happening now? It's a name that we've said more than any other at Norwich City this season. He has been, well, quite simply sensational at times. He is the Championship top goal scorer. He has put headlines in national newspapers plenty of times this season, has kind of shot to the into stardom really at Norwich City, has been for the first half of this season absolutely brilliant, and with that comes issues and excitement and undoubtedly noise around his name, and I think that's what we're starting to see. Obviously, we all know about the 6-game ban that he's currently going through after spitting at Chris Betham in the Sunderland game that we lost a couple of weeks ago, and we can get on to that and his discipline record at Norwich City. But I guess the discussion comes around like his importance at Norwich City and what we're trying to build, and his relationship with Johannes Torup, and where we go and where Borja Sainz goes from here, because we have a situation on our hands which is an exciting one, and I think these are good problems to have, but where we're trying to extract the maximum potential and the maximum output from Borja Sainz, but also the maximum potential kind of sell-on fee. Now, there have been rumours of a move away, and I think at this stage, all of those rumours are probably wide of the mark. Spanish side Girona have been linked with a January move for him. Girona finished third in the Liga last season. They are currently playing Champions League football this time around. They have a bit of money to spend. Borja Sainz obviously links with Spain, and on the kind of very top level reading of this, his game probably suits Spanish football very nicely, but I think let's put the Girona kind of links aside and let's work out kind of what the plans are for Borja Sainz here. The rumoured fee that they were wanting to spend, whether they get to it, is around the £20 million mark. I think Norwich City would certainly, if they are legitimate offers, would listen to bids in and around that region. I think when you start speaking about Borja Sainz and you're sticking him in the kind of £25 million, £30 million bracket, there has to be context that you, I guess, wrap around that and try and work out exactly what fee he can demand. I think the thing that lets Borja down is ultimately, his creativity aside from his goal scoring. Isn't maybe as strong as other £25 million players. Borja has had ultimately 6 good months in the Championship this season. He was okay last season and produced moments, but certainly wasn't the player he is this season. And maybe, not having Johnny Rowe and Gabi Sara in the squad has meant that Sainz has been able to go to the next level. But in terms of consistently putting it together, it's only really been this season, and you can argue that maybe the consistency, other than an absolutely balmy kind of 2-month period where everything he hit the back of the net, maybe he hasn't been as consistent as some would have liked. There's a good video with Connor Southwell going on the channel tomorrow, and I've loved his commentary around Borja Sainz this season, because I think from Connor's point of view, it comes from a point of frustration that he thinks there's so much more to give from Borja Sainz, and from a creativity kind of standpoint, if you're looking again at top numbers, he's picked up 3 assists this season, which is pretty average. I mean, Josh Sargent has got more than that, and he's played half the games. Callum Doyle has got more than that from a defensive position. So, those numbers certainly aren't screaming creative output, and I think there's been opportunities for him to up that number this season, and ultimately final pass or naivety has kind of let him down. So he needs to unlock that level of his game. His 15 goals have come from 10 expected goals this season. He has overperformed in terms of the chances he's had, a lot of long range efforts. Some will argue if that's sustainable or not, and you can argue amongst yourselves with that, but I think consistency is probably a concern for those looking at Borja Sainz and going, okay, if we're spending big money, which is what they'll need to do to to get Borja away from the club. Mark Atanasio has said on a few occasions that he's not for sale. Now, I think that translates to we're not going to accept an offer that we don't deem fit for him. We're not in a position where we have to sell him, unlike periods in the past with maybe Emi Buendia, or what sticks to mind the most is James Maddison. Whoever gets Sainz will have to pay the right figure, and I think that sits probably around the £20 million mark. And I think ultimately for Norwich City, this is a player who they practically got for free. That would be an incredible tick in the box for the recruitment department, who will ultimately pick up criticism over periods. And when you're trying to constantly find an edge and you're operating on a budget less than your kind of competitors, that's going to be a really difficult job. But I think with Borja, regardless of outcome from here, that was a good find. And in terms of unlocking value and finding a player that wasn't on other people's radar, that's been a huge kind of success. I think with Borja as well, we have to look at the disciplinary issues. I mean, I remember West Brom last season. Of course, the Sunderland game has let him down hugely this time around. Has he learnt from lessons? I mean, one would hope that he has, but if you're paying big bucks for a player, one of the things you're looking at is, will they start week in, week out? And usually the concern for most players is around injury record. Well, actually with Borja, injuries seemingly haven't been an issue. But with discipline, he has missed parts of seasons, and that will be a concern. Borja is still, still very young. He's 23 years old, but he has played a couple of seasons of Championship football now, and in both of those seasons, he has picked up significant kind of bans that has let himself down and ultimately let Norwich City down. So we find ourselves in an interesting position, I think, where Norwich will probably let him go in the summer. I would be incredibly surprised if he goes in January. So I think the summer looks more likely, and I think he will get a move away. So at this point, ultimately for Norwich, they've got two things that they're worried about. How do we extract the maximum output from him in the next few months from now until the end of the season to hopefully achieve the goals that they've set out to do internally? And two, how do they extract maximum value out of him? And that is going to be the difficult thing here, because they, for potential buyers, they will be going, well, a couple of £1 million knocked off there because we don't know his disciplinary record is tumultuous at best, and he's missed a large part of the season, and that will ultimately come back to him. And Norwich City need to find a way for him to get the best out of him. I think ultimately they need more creativity, and they need a better kind of output in that department, and to find a consistent level of goal scoring that isn't necessarily relying on those dramatic long range efforts. So I think his performance over the past month has been below what we would like and maybe have come to expect with Borja. I think actually this rest that he's going to naturally get now through this suspension isn't the worst thing in the world. Lewis Dobbin has come in. Jurisic will likely be coming in as well. So Norwich are trying to bulk out those wide kind of attacking areas. And hopefully Borja comes back from this suspension with, feeling rejuvenated and can put in a shift like he did during that crazy kind of 2-month patch where everything he touched turned to gold. So Norwich are reliant on Borja Sainz to come good for multiple reasons now. They are 4 points off the top 6. There is a genuine opportunity to get top 6 football this season if they play their cards right, and Borja will ultimately be a huge part of whether that happens or doesn't happen. So I think the Girona links are very speculative at this stage. I suspect he will definitely get a move away in the summer, and I suspect for Johannes, having a £20 million pot to start to really sculpt this side in a way that he wants to, and bring in personnel that fit his profile will be huge for him. So watch this space. Let me know down in the comment section. I'd love to hear how much you think Borja is realistically worth. I would say £20 million is is probably punchy, but there's nothing that's, there's no reason why Norwich can't attract that kind of price tag. But it is important from now until the end of the season that we see, consistency and quality output from Borja. There we go. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Always interested to hear, and we'll be down in there replying to you as always. Thanks very much for watching. There is loads of content coming over the next couple of weeks, so stay locked in to Talk Norwich City. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.